Hi there, this is TJR,
And this is Robert Kinsler.
and we're here to discuss the Art of McCartney CD album, double CD. And this came out just last month, right?
Right.
In December.
Yeah, late 2014.
There's been so many releases near the end of this year, we got a bit overwhelmed, and so we're still kind of just doing, we want to get to this one too, and get to some of these releases before we start plunging into the new year here. Now, before we get started here, I guess I should do a little disclosure here. Myself personally, I traditionally am not a fan of these kind of tribute albums where you get a bunch of famous artists and they perform another famous artist's songs. You tend to be more of a fan of these.
Yes, I am. Yeah, especially like earlier this year, there was a great Jackson Browne tribute, the first one ever to him, called "Looking Into You," and then also, and I think it was a few years ago, in connection with maybe it was a 50th anniversary of Buddy Holly's death or something. There was a couple really strong Buddy Holly tributes, but yeah, it would depend on the strength of them. But yeah, I think I tend to be more of a fan than you are.
Yeah, I tend to like. There's a series of albums by Mojo Magazine where they retrack the specific album. You know, like here is the Sgt. Pepper album retracked, where each song is done by a different artist. And usually they're very unknown artists and they're not well known. And they're kind of fearless in that they don't care what direction they take these classic tracks in. And they'll go in all kinds of unusual directions. Sometimes the results aren't pleasant, but sometimes they're real surprising. And I guess kind of a good example would be that recent retracking of, this was not done by Mojo, but by the Flaming Lips, which Francisco Ramirez did a guest review on, where they had remade Sgt. Pepper once again, and he had made a comment saying, I didn't enjoy every track, but that wasn't the point. The point was it made me hear these songs in different ways. So let's go ahead and talk about the Art of McCartney. Do you want to go first and just quickly sum up how you feel about it?
With this. I guess it would depend on the actual track that is covered here, but as a general rule, I would say a lot of these versions here, perhaps because McCartney's touring band, and they're an amazing band. There's no doubt about that. A lot of the arrangements were so faithful that you're not really getting much of a reinterpretation, other than the vocal styles. Like when Bob Dylan does Things We Said Today, it's simply not going to sound like McCartney because his vocals are so grovelly now and almost hard to sometimes discern what he's singing about, at this point in his career. But other things, let's say when Paul Rodgers, let me really quickly look, make sure I don't mess up the song, when he does "Let Me Roll It."
Yeah.
I mean, when you first hear it, it could be McCartney. It's almost like, as it gets into it, you recognize Paul Rodgers. But sometimes I think that the versions are simply just too close to what you would hear at a McCartney concert, and it maybe would have been a little bit more interesting to hear these artists kind of do their full-on own stamp on the song.
Yeah, the package on the cover of the album says, the songs of Paul McCartney sung by the world's greatest artists, and sung by is the operative word. And yeah, pretty much every track is performed by the session players who play in McCartney's live band. Yeah. So it does kind of become, and this is where there have been a lot of people critical of this album for that reason.
Right.
It becomes basically you've got all these famous artists, by and large, just kind of doing McCartney karaoke.
That's right.
To a certain extent. I mean, and I'd hate to sound really harsh about it, but yeah, a lot of this just feels way too faithful. There are a few moments where the vocal stylings of a particular singer do change up the song enough.
And I'm with you on that. Yeah, they're like, almost sometimes it might be a simple phrase or something. You say, God, I really like what they did there, and it maybe kind of teases you with what could have been. Yeah,
I mean, in particular for me, Corinne Bailey Rae's performance on
Bluebird, right?
Bluebird, yes, on Bluebird. I love her performance on that. I don't think it would have mattered what band played that behind her, as long as they played the song correctly. We would have had the same result. Yeah. Another one is Smokey Robinson's singing on "So Bad." Now I think, wow, I like Paul's original version, but I think he should have had Smokey sing that back in, I guess, what was it, the late '80s when that song was released?
Right.
Yeah, I think he should have always had Smokey Robinson sing that song.
And I know we both like the B.B. King version we talked. It
Yeah.
far outdistanced the original one.
Yeah,
that
it
we
does.
heard.
This is one of the few instances where it does kind of outdistance it. That is Paul's band there, but B.B. King's playing guitar. And for some reason, the moment you have B.B. King singing and playing guitar, it's no longer Paul McCartney's band anymore.
Yeah,
It becomes
good
this
point.
band backing up B.B. King, and it becomes B.B. King. His presence on guitar and his vocals are just become being what they are, just being as strong as they are. It just becomes this totally different song.
Yeah, and you know, and one thing I will say, how great is it though to hear like two legends like Bob Dylan, and actually you put Brian Wilson in there. I mean, you have some of the rock musics or pop, in the case of B.B. King blues, some of literally rock royalty all shedding their talent on the album, and that is something to celebrate. Like you said, even though some of the versions I think fall a little bit short of what you would have liked to hear.
It is amazing that they got this many people to be on it. Maybe it's not amazing considering the influence that Paul McCartney has had and the influence the Beatles have had. Maybe it's probably not amazing. But it is. I just feel like so much like it's a missed opportunity. And when I listen to some of this, like for instance, I was like when I first saw, Kiss is doing Rock Show. I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah.
But then again, it's just Paul's band playing the song the way they've always played it live. You've got Gene singing on Venus and Mars. You've got Paul singing Rock Show. And it's really kind of underwhelming in my opinion. Not that Gene and Paul are bad in their performances.
Yeah, that's
not that
what-
the
yeah.
band is bad in their performance. I wanted to hear Kiss do it. It's not really Kiss. Def Leppard does Hell on Wheels. Now, they don't reinvent the song. They don't take it in any radical new directions. But that's Def Leppard playing it.
Yeah, so at least you're getting that.
And
yeah.
it's full of energy. It's full of excitement. I didn't feel that energy when I heard Gene and Paul. I'm not going to say Kiss because it's not Kiss. You got at least get the current lineup of the band to play the song, for crying out loud. It's not Kiss. It's just Gene and Paul singing with Paul's band.
Yeah, I see.
And I didn't feel any energy or any excitement, whereas I did feel it with Def Leppard. And also The Cure when they do Hello Goodbye.
Yeah.
They have James McCartney as a guest star. He's a great guitar player. It's no matter how you might feel about how The Cure decided to play that
and
song.
I love that with their version.
Yeah, it's a nice version
with James on keyboard.
It's a nice version.
Great,
It's not too radical of a reinvention, but it's The Cure.
But the thing is, Robert Smith is not holding back. He has such a distinctive musical and vocal personality that nothing's gonna curb that. And I like that. And I love his version of "See Moon." Also, it's kind of playful and kind of and I thought that was a lot of fun. And I think that's what maybe the album needed a little bit more throughout. I mean, because there's no doubt that people like Paul Rodgers is one of the preeminent rock singers of all time, and he's still on top of his game. But like you said, he doesn't really get to be too much of Paul Rodgers really on this album.
There were a lot of times I listened to this album and I was like, "Who is this singing?" And let me go back and look. That's Alice Cooper on Ellen Rigby. Oh, okay, all right. And it's like certain vocalists that I thought I should have recognized right away. I was like, who's this? Let me go back and check this out here. But yeah, I think they should have either let these. I guess. Let me back up a moment. It's obvious. We both agreed to this. We talked about this prior to recording that for the producer of this project, this was a labor of love.
Right.
And you were mentioning in your research that he's a big fan. He really loves Paul's band.
Right, he's a big fan, and Paul's band, and I've seen him a number of times, and they are fantastic. I mean,
they are.
I'm old enough to have seen Wings back in the day when they toured in the late '70s, and you know what, this band is probably outdistances Wings as far as talent and able to recapture all his stuff. But again, there is a certain sound and arrangements that they do, and they don't really veer from that when they on these versions.
Yeah,
here.
because they're doing it night after night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where for expediency, maybe it might have been a good idea to have this band back up to the majority of the artists here. But a lot of the times, the performances, and I hate to be harsh again, a lot of them sound without energy, like by the numbers, at best by the numbers.
And the example I would give most of that would be Band on the Run by Heart. I like their version of Letting Go a little bit more. And I don't, again, it might just be Ann and Nancy Wilson and then the members of his band. You might know that.
That's just, it is basically, it is the two of them.
But I thought Band on the Run was just weak and it just didn't. It just didn't do anything. Letting Go, I thought, was a little bit better. It seemed like they put a little bit more of them, a little bit more fire in it. But and that was, and so I follow what you're saying there.
On Band on the Run, it was just Ann and Nancy Wilson singing. with Paul's band just playing the
Yeah.
song the way they've always
Because
had.
that's what the arrangements sound identical when I see
Feels
Paul in concert.
very
lately.
by the numbers.
Yeah.
Letting Go, I get the feeling, I have to look back at the credits again, but I get the feeling that Nancy Wilson is also playing guitar.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
get the feeling because when I listen to it, it doesn't sound precisely.
Yeah, like there's one part in the beginning with the guitar lead, and it's a little different than I'm used to hearing, but it was good. It's like I don't want to hear it
Yeah.
identical to how I would hear it at
Yeah.
a Paul McCartney
The
concert.
credits, I just looked at the credits. The credits don't only list them as singing vocals on Letting Go too,
Okay,
but
okay.
it feels a little different.
Yeah, it feels
It
different.
is better, but some of these, like I said, sound very phoned in.
Uh-huh.
In some cases, some of the vocal performances sound tired. And some of it, I hate to say, even sounds a bit phoned in.
Oh, okay.
And in some cases, some of the artists I feel are a little mismatched to the song. I would have rather have heard Yusef, rather than hear him singing The Long and Winding Road with Paul's backup band. I didn't like it the first time I heard it. I liked it a little bit better the second time I heard it. I think you liked it more than me.
Yeah, I liked it a little more than you. I think.
Yeah. But I would have rather him just pick, I like this Beatles song. I'm going to learn how to play it myself. I'm just going to play it the way I would play it. Or I'm going to have my backup band, my current live band, do this song with me. And this is the song we're going to do, and we're going to record it, and we'll send you the track.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, I really think that's the thing that hurts this album, is they should have just let these artists figure out how they would do these songs, send their track.
Yeah.
If they needed a little supplementation from Paul's band, like, hey, yeah, like here's Kiss, we're doing this. But can your guy who does the chimes, the little on the breakdown of Rock Show, that dum dum dum, where you've got those the little bell tones going on. Maybe your guy can come in and just do that, or maybe we'll overdub some lead guitar over it instead. I don't know. Just if they just kind of work these songs out on their own, as with their current bands, their live bands, whatever it is, depending on whether it's a band or a solo artist. I think it just probably would have worked out better. There are a few moments, like I said, where it did work to have the live band and the vocal stylist was unique enough.
Yeah. What I'll do here, because we've said a few things about our reservations about it, but let me talk about a couple of the performances I think are really strong.
Yeah.
I love Jeff Lynne's Junk.
Okay.
I like the original version that Paul wrote back in 1968, I guess, while I was in India, and there's a real melancholy quality to it. I think Jeff Lynne totally got that.
And I'll interrupt briefly. Jeff Lynne did every instrument on that recording.
Okay, so
he did it all himself.
Yeah. And see, maybe that's why in that stands behind what you're saying. The other one I really like is I like Brian Wilson's Wanderlust too, and I think he made that his own. It kind of has a Beach Boys sheen, and the original was beautiful. I like Paul's, but I think Brian Wilson, maybe because he's such an iconic vocalist, he made it just enough himself where I like that one too. But I think many times what you're saying, like for example when Billy Joel does Maybe I'm Amazed, all it does is it sounds like it's kind of Paul singing it, but the vocals are a little bit more gruff and raspy. I would just rather hear Paul sing it.
Yeah, and like I said, the arrangement, he's playing piano on that too, but the arrangements don't really sound all that different.
No, they're not.
And yeah, it just feels a little bit tired.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. So I think what maybe we're telling people is if maybe you're better off almost downloading the tracks or the artists that you just can't live without hearing, rather than buying the album, unless you're such a fan of Paul McCartney and you're a completionist in terms of his recordings, and also people that
or a Beatles completionist,
that attribute to him.
I'm feeling like this album is more of a stream it than a must own, unless you're a real completionist about this sort of stuff. I feel like it's a stream it. I feel like if you have a subscription service like Spotify or Beats Music, of course, actually, I should take that back. This album's not on Spotify. You can't stream it there.
Okay.
Don't know if it's on Beats.
But you can listen to a lot of the tracks on YouTube as well.
You can listen to a lot of it on YouTube, and you can of course stream minute and a half samples on iTunes. That should give you a good enough idea, really, and that you should buy the tracks you want. I should point out there are a few moments where. Like for instance, I will point out like I said, I thought it was misleading to say Heart was performing Band on the Run. I thought it was misleading to say Kiss was performing Venus and Mars. Whereas with Jet, it says it clearly states Robin Zander and Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick.
Right, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
It also states you've got Sammy Hagar on Birthday. Sammy Hagar, it's listed in the credits. I wish it had said Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony of Chickenfoot.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he brings Michael Anthony from
Yeah.
Chickenfoot, formerly of Van Halen.
Yeah.
And they're playing with Paul's band, but just the fact you've got Sammy on guitar, Michael on bass, and backing vocals
Right.
too. He's a great vocalist, Michael
Yeah,
Anthony.
he is. Yeah, does great backup vocals.
You listen to that, just Michael Anthony's, the fact that Sammy's playing guitar on that song, you got the rest of Paul's band there to back them up, but Michael Anthony on bass totally changes the dynamic of that song. And Michael, he's great in that he plays, with he mirrors the guitar, do 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 do, but then he throws in these other bass riffs between those lines that are clearly his own, making it his own, and just how much meat he gives to that with his bass playing. And I felt like he was kind of a little bit of an unsung hero on that track.
Yeah,
he's
that's
credited.
A good point. That's a good point. Yeah, but on the back of the CD or the primary titles, they just say Sammy Hagar.
It just mentioned Sammy Hagar. I wish it had said Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony of Chickenfoot.
Yeah.
And it would have been a good thing for Chickenfoot because Chickenfoot's a great band.
Yeah.
I think more people need to hear their releases.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a great band, but who knows? Who knows what the powers that be that are involved with that?
But again, I'm just glancing at the back. I think you're right. I'd say that there's some good things to celebrate on the CD, but there's many things that, like you said, where the potential just was not reached.
Its best moments are when you have got the band or the artists themselves, like I said, doing it. Listen to what the man said with Owl City. Mm-hmm. That's that band doing it.
Yeah.
They're not changing up too much, but it's them doing it. Another one I wanted to point out: "No More Lonely Nights" by Airborne Toxic Event. That I never really cared for Paul's original version of that song. I just thought it was too syrupy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have stripped this song down, gone much more acoustic with it. It's a revelation hearing it in this way, and I'm liking it so much more that their version to me was a revelation. And also, I should mention the rendition of "Come and Get It" by Toots Hibbert with Sly and Robbie. They're doing it reggae style.
Yeah.
You may not like reggae, but you got to give them credit for just saying, okay, we're going to totally reinvent this. And I think the album it should have been just more of this. And I guess I'm repeating myself now, aren't I?
No, but I think you made a very good case for kind of where you're coming from with it. And I think we may not agree on every specific track, this and that, but I think we're both kind of in the same camp in terms of the ambition of the album is definitely there. You celebrate, the producer's love of Paul McCartney and wanting to do this, and I think he probably got the album that he wanted very much so. But depending on where you're coming from as a listener, you might feel differently.
There's so many big names on this album, and I think maybe I wonder sometimes. Do you think that maybe these longtime veterans, they've known these songs for so long that they don't want to really mess with these songs too much, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't know, but then again, they are tied to that backing band. Most of them are tied to the backing band. Dylan actually, it says, when you look at the one on the Dylan track, it just says, it doesn't mention Paul's band on it, so I'm assuming that's Dylan's backing band.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because I looked the same.
It does feel a bit different. A lot of people hate Dylan's rendition. I'm not one of them, actually. I think Dylan's really trying hard to be as articulate as he can on this version. Mm-hmm. And I kind of felt that in spite of his rough, gravelly voice, that I could sense a real feeling of ache and loneliness and sadness. Not in a bad way, but in a good way, in his sort of reading / singing of the track. That I felt when I listened to it. And I'm not a Dylan fan, as some people might know. I'm not a big Dylan fan. And I'm not a big fan of how he sings right now either.
That's where I come from. And yet, and I know a lot of people.
They hated that rendition.
Yeah, they hate that rendition. But I know other people that just swear by him, and they just he has an album of American standards. I think he's going to be covering basically Frank Sinatra standouts, and that's coming out in early 2015. And a lot of people are looking forward to that. I mean, it's funny. People are in two camps when it comes to Dylan.
I guess so.
And I guess that's one of the things that makes him a great artist over all these years.
I guess so. Yeah.
So, but back to the Art of McCartney. I mean, I think, like you say, I think it's important that we discuss it. It's an album that we should have got to in 2014, and I'm just glad we got to talk a little bit bit about it,
Yeah.
and we got to live with the album a little bit
Yeah.
too.
I'm feeling like it's a bit of a missed opportunity overall. Once again, stream it, and I wish that they kind of maybe they could have even gone to where they had half of the artists be sort of unknowns or up and coming talents who might have been a little more adventurous, saying, I'm just going to go completely wacko with this, Whereas you've got the veterans who seem to be just kind of staying with, most of them staying with just, okay, let's go with the traditional arrangement. I don't know. But then again, having all these big artists does help sell it.
Yeah, it does.
To the Best Buys, the Target stores.
Yeah.
I guess we should mention that too, real quick. I from what I understand, there's some anger about the fact that depending on where you get the deluxe, we're looking at the deluxe edition. We should mention, and you're actually got the deluxe edition, which has 2 CDs and a DVD.
Right.
The DVD is substantial, and it's 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's not just a quick little 20-minute DVD.
And it has behind-the-scenes footage of Smokey Robinson, Corinne Bailey, Ray, B.B. King, Paul Rogers, etc. Many of the artists that are on there are featured in the DVD. So if you are a fan of these artists or of this project, you're probably going to want to get that version. Yeah. Like you said, otherwise you might want to just stream the tracks that but there are different versions. So just before you just pick it up and buy it, make sure if you are going to purchase it, that you purchase the version that you really want.
Apparently, Amazon, Best Buy, Target stores all have different running different orders, different like different bonus tracks. So it's a little. A little confusing.
And the reason I wanted this version is because it not only has The Cure on it, it has, like you mentioned, the track with James McCartney where they cover Hello, Goodbye, but it also has Robert Smith, the lead singer of The Cure, doing Sea Moon, and I love, his is another one of the versions I really like. He just has such playful vocals, and even though it's kind of a repetitive lyrics in it and this and that, he really makes the song his own. So, and I'm glad I invested in. It's
a beautiful package, the one you have, because it comes slipcase. It's in a book. It's in like a little hardcover book.
Yeah.
And beautifully, it has notes on each song about who did what and where. That's how we know who played on it.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
But it is I'll admit it's a beautiful looking package.
It is.
So anyway, I guess we've exhausted what we want to say about this.
The last thing let's do before we close out is let's acknowledge Paul's band, because for anyone that maybe hasn't seen him or they have, but his backup band has been with him for I think about 15 years now.
Yeah.
Much longer than Wings lasted, and much longer than the Beatles. Recording career, but features both Brian Ray and Rusty Anderson on guitars and bass guitars. Paul Wickens on keyboards, and the amazing drummer Abe Laboriel Jr., and he's just a fantastic drummer, and he does great backup vocals for Paul too. And I just think that as these things go, this is a great band, and I'm glad Paul has stuck with them, because they're just fantastic.
And we are not dissing on this band,
not at all,
because they do their job. They do an exemplary job. They're amazing players. It's just I think what we're criticizing is just the philosophy behind this, the making of this. I'm hoping someday there is like an Art of the Beatles album like this, and I hope we get a good mix of well-known veterans with completely unknown or up-and-coming artists, or more on the outer fringe artists, younger artists, so that we kind of have a way, because these tribute albums, one thing they can do is they can introduce a lot of younger listeners who've never heard of artists like James Taylor, like the one you were mentioning earlier,
or Jackson Brown,
Jackson Brown, excuse me, my mistake, Jackson Brown, not James Taylor, my apologies,
or Buddy Holly for that matter,
or Buddy Holly for that matter.
A lot of people don't know
by
who
introducing
he is.
them, if when you've got someone that's young, that mainly only the younger audiences know, that's going to introduce them to that music. And but for that, but also where you've got artists that are going to be more traditional with the arrangements, but others who are just going to go completely out of left field with it and do completely wild things. You may not like it, you may like it, you don't know, but it's going to make you hear the song in a completely different way that you never considered. And hopefully if they do one of the Beatles, they will do it like that. They'll really mix it up. And they'll really, I think, we could be, Mojo Magazine has done retracts of almost all the Beatles catalog, where you've got the actual album retracked by different artists, most of them unknown, once again, each one doing a song off the album. They're kind of schizophrenic affairs, but they're really something to check out, and I'm a big fan of those. And we could all riff on Beatles songs and find different ways to do them, for ages. if we wanted to.
Exactly.
But hopefully there will be one of the Beatles or even one of John Lennon.
Yeah.
And we will hopefully maybe be a little more adventurous with it, I hope.
Yeah, I agree, and no, well said, and let's hope that that collection comes soon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And once again, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for sharing the show on Facebook and Twitter with all your friends. And we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.